So from my early school years, I knew that Westminster International University was one of the leading universities in Uzbekistan. I can actually say that it was the best university. And so that's why I wanted to pursue my education here. And in 2013, I went to Westminster Lyceum, academic lyceum under Westminster International University in Tashkent. And I think I was one of the lucky ones to study there. It was one of the highlights of my secondary education. And this opened the path to pursue my education here at Westminster International University, where I got the bachelor's degree in business administration. And after that, I had 3 years of work experience. And after that professional experience, I went to the US and with a Fulbright Scholarship and studied there for 2 years. And last year, I got admitted to Harvard Kennedy School, which is at Harvard University. And right now, I'm a student in economics and econometrics program there. So it all comes from my very early years of my life, because I always saw how the policies were made, and my dad worked in public sector as well. So I was always exposed to public sector actually, and but I decided to make a business because of after all, my father also switched to business sector as well. And after my graduation, I actually worked in private sector, but I realized that something that I really want to do is related to helping people, serving citizens of Uzbekistan, for example. And I started working at the Food Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and I started doing projects related to food security and safety. And at the same time, I realized that I can do those micro-intervention projects, and we did projects in Fergana Valley, for example. But I realized that I cannot achieve big things. I cannot have big achievements in these sectors without economic growth. And then I realized that economic growth is what will drive the nations. And that's why I switched to this econometrics and economics program. My program at the Harvard Kennedy School is actually a Master in Public Administration and International Development. But it's a STEM program, 2-year STEM program. And it's around macroeconomics, statistics, and applying data, making data-driven decisions. And making analysis. So if I start from the social part, probably the most memorable event was my last year when I was the General Secretary at the Students' Union. And when it comes to the academic achievement, probably it was the classes that were related to quant. Even those years, I was so interested in statistics, in doing analysis, data analysis, or second year, third year, fourth year. I always tried to take electives that were related, that were around quantitative methods, for example. So, and the dissertation was one of my favorite classes, because there, I did some research, and it was my first steps in the research, and there I became interested in doing analysis, although I'm not satisfied how my dissertation went. True. Yes. So actually I applied to Harvard Kennedy School 3 times. 2 times I applied to the Master in Public Policy program, and I'm glad that I didn't get admitted to that program. Right now I'm in the more in STEM, quantitative program. And 3rd time I realized that in order to get admitted to Harvard, I should work harder as well. So it comes when Harvard looks at applicants, it has a holistic approach. So it looks at the candidates' achievements, academic achievements, professional achievements. It looks at candidates' ambitions, what goals the applicant has. And so I decided to work on my application, because Harvard Kennedy School doesn't have interviews, so you have to literally provide everything through the paper. You write everything on the paper and give it to Harvard Kennedy School. So I spent my 2 years during my first master's thinking about Harvard. So I needed to increase my GPA. I got the excellent grade. I needed some international development experience, because my program is related to international development. So I worked at the World Bank office in Washington, D.C. I also needed to work on my resume, and I needed some achievements. So thanks God, I got a Fulbright Scholarship. At the same time, in the US, I got the Edmund Muskie Fellowship, which is the fellowship, professional fellowship for those who do internship in the US. So I had like good collection of application materials, and then I decided to apply. One of the key things was recommendation letters as well, because in the US it's very common to build this relationship with professors, and I have built that relationship with my professors. One of them was my academic advisor, who would guide me through my career goals, and was very helpful indeed. So as I mentioned, I applied to Harvard 3 times. 2 times I got rejected, but I completely understand, because it's very hard to get into Harvard when you apply when you start your application a week before the deadline, right? So, but the 3rd time I had took some time. So after the 3 rejections, I realized that my first goal is to get admitted first, and then I can think about the financial aid and other stuff. So the first goal is to get admitted, and the Harvard system works very easy in a way that when you apply to Harvard, the following day in your application portal, you have the financial aid tab, and there is special deadline for financial aid. And when you go to the financial aid tab, you will see a list of different fellowships, scholarships, sponsorships, different donors, organizations, nonprofits, and most of them are merit-based. Only one will be a need-based scholarship, which is called special circumstances scholarship, something. And there you can apply to, there are criteria of each scholarship, and if you match with the criteria, if you match to the criteria, you can literally apply to any of them. So and you're given about a month to apply to those to the financial aid. So during that financial aid period, I applied to actually 2. One was the scholarship related to, I think it was for those who are interested in working in public sector. And the second scholarship was special circumstances essay, where I literally expressed my interest in studying at Harvard, and at the same time I told them that if I need to study there, I need some financial aid, when I described my circumstances. And I don't know whether this helped me or other factors, but truth is that I got full financial aid and full scholarship, which covers all my tuition fees, health insurance, book allowances, and others. Yeah. So before Harvard, I actually got Fulbright Scholarship as well, which was but right now when I read those scholarships that I applied to Fulbright or other universities at that time, they're something funny for me now, because when it came to Harvard, I actually paid lots of attention to my essays, and one of the key aspects in motivational letters to Harvard and other Ivy League or top universities, I think, is how you tell stories and how honest you are. Because in my applications, I was really honest. I even shared some information that I would never share with anyone, and I told my story, why I am interested in this program, why I need Harvard. Because as I mentioned, if I'm interested in economics, I can literally do some economic-related job, and I can achieve whatever I want to achieve without Harvard. And Harvard asks that. Why, if you are interested in that, why do you need Harvard to achieve that, right? To achieve that goal. So, and you need to be very clear in this. So you should clearly explain why you need Harvard in order to get to your goal. So I think I was honest. I told my story, my life story, and I also described my plans, my future plans, and showed my ambitions. I think this was the key. Yeah. So when I worked at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, I was doing a project related to smart farming. The project was in Fergana Valley, and there I was the project manager, basically, and I had to make decisions every day. There I realized that I don't want to make decisions randomly. I want my decisions to be based on data, on information, and I want to make sure that my decision is correct. So what we are taught at Harvard is that every decision should be technically correct organizationally implementable and politically supportable. When it comes to technically correct, it means that we use data and information, we do research, we get empirical evidence, and based on that, we make the decision. For example, so I did the project related to smart farming, so we should make sure that the location for this project are correct. We want to make sure that what goals we want to achieve. For example, if we want to increase the yields of the farmers, of the crops of the farmers, then we need to make sure how much of fertilizers we should apply, or what type of soil practices we should implement in our daily work, right? So this is technically correct. But at the same time, the second important part is organizational implementable. It should be that the second important part is that it should be organizationally implementable. So what it means, if we say that this farmer should make sure that he uses the latest technologies, then it's not implementable, because first of all, this farmer doesn't have those equipment and technologies. Second thing, he doesn't have maybe finances. And this is just an example, and it can be applied to in any sphere of public sector and public administration. For example, when any law is adopted, the policymakers should make sure that they have enough capacity, enough people who are capable of implementing those policies. And the last thing is political supportability, because sometimes what we want to do is not politically supportable. It's not popular. The public doesn't support that, or there are some certain stakeholders that there is like conflict of interest between those stakeholders, and that's why there's like some resistance from some actors. So as I mentioned, I applied to Harvard 3 times, and I got accepted only on the 3rd time. So my biggest advice, my number 1 advice, is to never stop, keep applying, work on yourself, because after all, when you want to apply to Harvard, you want to make sure that you achieve something else, something that's visible to Harvard admission office, right? And work on yourself. And Harvard is not the main thing that's going to decide your life, but the process of you working on yourself is what matters after all.